Shadow of the Colossus was originally released on the PlayStation 2 back in 2005, and was later released for a second time with a HD remake for the PlayStation 3 in 2011. On the 6th of February 2018, this tried and true game will see its third release take place on the PlayStation 4. G'day everyone, I am Lucas, and today I am taking a look at Shadow of the Colossus as it's never been seen before. Let's get started. Shadow of the Colossus starts off showing a young man named Wanda. Now he's carrying his deceased wife named Mono into a shrine located within a forbidden land. This shrine houses an altar and 16 statues of wild beasts which are known as idols, and these idols represent the 16 colossi from around the forbidden lands. Wanda has brought his dead wife to these forbidden lands along with a magical sword with the promise that therein lies the power to give life back to his beloved wife. A deal is made here where Wanda is required to slaughter all 16 colossi in exchange for his wife's life. Behind the blunt exterior of Shadow of the Colossus is a story of pure greed and how making a deal with the devil isn't always as good as it initially sounds. Shadow of the Colossus is a third-person action-adventure game which will immediately seem a little different to those unaware of how the game works. My first thoughts when playing through the game was something along the lines of, where's the enemies? Well, there are no little runabout enemies in this game at all. Actually, there isn't much in Shadow of the Colossus other than vast open spaces that pave the way towards epic battles with larger-than-life creatures known as colossi. Without any enemies other than what I would call bosses, your job is simply to follow the light that shines from your sword towards the colossi and then bring them down. Heading into the first Colossi arena is larger than life. A massive beast stands before you, and you need to work out how to kill such a gigantic creature. Herein lies the trick to the game. While defeating the Colossi is rarely too difficult, finding out the trick to killing them is not so easy. Now, these things are massive on scale, and surely they weren't this big in the original. Yes, they were. The game blew me away with the original on how they managed to create such massive beasts with little resources. The use of hairy surfaces gives your character something to hold onto and climb, while the armour that the Colossi wears creates interesting platforms for you to climb onto. Now, these are two elements that were available in the original game, but they just look so much more amazing now. So now, you've killed a Colossus, and you've absorbed its black life. How do you feel? Like a heartless monster? Well, you should. I found that most of the Colossi rarely even attempt to attack you, and seem to be just going about their own business until you come along and stuck a sword into its head. How can we justify the death of 16 of these things for the life of one person, your supposed wife? Seems wrong, doesn't it? Well, that's it. That's the game. Rinse and repeat another 15 times and you're done. Sounds simple, doesn't it? But a lot of the game time will come from the exploration needed to find the locations of the Colossi, as they are scattered within a massive open world style map. Fighting the Colossi can take anywhere from a couple of minutes, like the first boss, or up to a good hour-long epic battle of survival. Shadow of the Colossus was originally made with the PlayStation 2 in mind, so the controls here are very different compared to today's setups. Strangely enough though, the controls for your main character Wanda hold up very well, and the game remains very playable in those tense moments of gameplay. However, where the game is strongly let down and becomes mildly frustrating is in the camera controls, and also when controlling your drunken horse aggro. The camera is able to be moved using the right analog stick, but the game also likes to fight with you for where it thinks you should be looking, which isn't always in the right direction. Get off the tree! Get around the... Ugh. No, don't run into the rocks. No, get off, turn. Screw it, I'm going on foot. Further to those control issues, as you've just seen, controlling aggro, your fearless steed, is something akin to driving a car after a gut full of schooners at the pub. These are minor issues in the grand scope of the game, but otherwise only offer frustrations during an otherwise sound experience. Shadow of the Colossus is a complete ground-up remake of the original, designed to take full advantage of the PlayStation 4's hardware. Shadow of the Colossus is a much-loved classic, and this remake releases to a world full of new audiences that would never have experienced the game otherwise. The standard PlayStation 4 will run the game with a native 1080p and 30 frames a second, while the PlayStation 4 Pro will have two different game modes to choose from. The first mode is Cinematic Mode, which emphasises image quality and for owners of compatible 4K HDR displays, boasts a beautiful dynamic 4K image targeting 30 frames per second. Without a 4K TV, PlayStation 4 Pro users running in Cinematic Mode will get a native 1080p display that is generated from a render target of 1440p. This results in a smoother image with less aliasing artifacts. Performance Mode is the second mode, which delivers an extremely fluid frame rate targeting 60 frames per second. However, this mode drops a lot of the settings down to achieve this. I noticed screen tearing, which means that it's likely that VSync is disabled in this mode. I also noticed that about 30 meters in front of my character there was a line where grass would be drawn into place, almost like the draw distance for some details was severely lowered. Further to this, I also noticed a lot more aliasing or jaggies around the edges of objects. While this mode does show off some shortfalls, it does give a much smoother gameplay experience. What we have here with the latest iteration of Shadow of the Colossus is what I would call the best looking remaster of a game that I have ever seen. There have been remasters and remakes in the past, but this one definitely has delivered a lot more than I could have ever expected. When looking at how dense the detail is in some areas compared to the flat and bland textures of the original, I was absolutely floored with how amazing this game looks. Further to this, the remake from the ground up has managed to make the game look better than it ever has, but all while retaining the exact control and feel that made the game successful to start with. I absolutely recommend playing Shadow of the Colossus in this form to any person who played the original or even to anyone who missed the original. This is truly a game that deserves a remake and deserved a good one just like this. Thank you very much for checking out this review of Shadow of the Colossus, available on PlayStation 4 from the 6th of February 2018. If you have any questions, comments or concerns, chuck them in the comments section down below. But while you're there, don't forget to click the like button and subscribe to this channel, and I will love you for it. That's all for now. I am Lucas, and until next time, I will see ya!